Oh, hello, Andre. I was wondering if you could help me.
What is it, CEAZOR?
Well, I met this really sweet girl, but she's from another country, and I'm having a hard time.
What's the problem?
Well, I wanted to ask her dad if I could marry her, but he doesn't speak English.
So, use your phone. Google Translate.
Well, he doesn't know how to use a phone either, so it's kind of hard.
Okay. Here you go. Use this. It's a electronic telepathizer.
Huh?
Just use it. Your brain connected to his brain. Just think it. He will hear it.
Hello and welcome to Caesar's Snack Sandwich. Today we're taking a look at Andre Cronje's fixed Forex proposition or project that he's working on. Now, I'm going to preface this video with the idea that I read this article and I kind of understand what's going on. However, I'm making some speculations and some assumptions and so forth, and I will mention them as best I can. And I'm fully prepared to have like Andre DM me and say, you know, your flowchart is backwards, upside down, and inside out. But I think it's interesting and I think it's worth talking about and looking at, and I would like to share my thoughts on it in the way I do. So I'm going to head over to a flowchart and show you that. But take some time and read through this article. It's pretty clear. He's pretty straightforward in his idea, and I'm going to kind of steal his metaphor here and explain it with a flowchart, and kind of maybe it will help some people to understand what's going on here. Okay, thanks. Okay, so here we have Dollar Bill, and Dollar Bill has decided, you know, he's made a bunch of money from crypto and he decides he wants to run a restaurant. And he lives in Europe, let's say, and he wants to run a Korean restaurant. So what does he need? He needs kimchi. He needs kimchi for Korean restaurants, right? But the best kimchi is obviously made in Korea. So he wants to start importing some old man's traditionally made kimchi. And he's going to have to pay for this kimchi and have the kimchi sent to him in Europe so he can, supply it to his customers at his restaurant. So traditionally, how he would do this, the way the system is set up now, if he wanted to use cryptocurrency to do this, then he would have to basically do it this way. So he would take his euros and, exchange it for some sort of tether, maybe the euro tether. And he could do this in a couple of ways. He could directly deal with tether if he had a large amount of money. But if he was just, small time, he would have to use some sort of on-ramp, some centralized exchange to on-ramp his euros into tether, or the same if he was in US, US into USDT. So basically, he's got to use some centralized exchange to turn his dollars in his bank, right, into some sort of crypto, like a tether-based crypto. And then he would send that crypto tether to the old man here, to the old man's exchange wallet, and then the old man would have to convert that or off-ramp it to his bank, basically. So he would have to sell this tether, this euro tether, for his local currency, and then off-ramp the local currency into his bank account and so forth. Now, let's assume this old man all he knows how to do is make kimchi and maybe go to the bank, right? So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to avoid the ability to interact with all of these factors here for both Bill and both for the old man here. So another option that Bill could do to try to make things simpler is maybe when he exchanged, on his own centralized exchange, he could, swap it for some sort of token that is the Korean won, and then send that to there, right? And then he would say, oh, I've got this much Korean won, and I want to turn it into my real Korean and won, and then offload that. So this would make it a slightly simpler, right? Because the old man would still need to interact with the centralized exchange and know how to convert this into fiat in in that sense, right? So what Andre has suggested and what he wants to build is he wants to take this to DeFi. Instead of using centralized exchanges and custodial services, he wants to try to use DeFi to do this. Now, in his article, he mentions the idea of a on-ramp and an off-ramp, but he doesn't describe how this is going to be done. So this is a big mystery, and I'm very interested to see how this is going to come into play, because a decentralized on-ramp is not something I think the governments want, because this is their main way of controlling the people's, flow of income. So if they have control of the on-ramps and off-ramps, then they don't really care so much what happens inside DeFi, because they can see, you are pulling out this much money, where did you get it, pay your taxes, and so forth. So I'm interested to see what he has in plan here, but there's no clear idea, and I don't have any speculations. I have no idea how he's going to do this decentralized on-ramp and off-ramp. That is, I assume, is non-custodial. Like, how could it be? I don't know. Who knows? We'll see what he comes up with that. Okay, so I can't explain that at all. So basically, what I visualize, what I see happening is, Bill will come to this website, this user interface, this fixed Forex type thing, and it'll ask him some simple questions like, who do you want to send the money to? And he will supply some sort of identification of this guy, right? And how much do you want to send in this amount of dollars? Like, how much do you want him to receive? I'm not sure if that's right. I think it would be better for Bill to, him to say, oh, send me, whatever amount, I don't know, 50 million kwon or Korean dollar, Korean currency, right? 50 million, and he's like, okay, I gotta send 50 million, because there's gonna be fees and loss and stuff like that in through this system. So it's not about I'm going to send, this many euros. Bill needs to make sure that the old man's gonna get a certain amount of his currency, right? And then the system will tell him, oh, you need to pay this many euros or this many US dollars or this many, depending on which country he's coming from, right? So that's going to be basically Bill's experience, is just go here, tell how much does that man need to receive in that man's currency, and then, this is how much you need to give us, right? And now the old man is just going to be like, hey, here's your money, and it's from Bill. Send Bill his stuff. So there's going to be obviously stuff built on the edges of this. There's going to be websites where he's going to communicate with him, or maybe he builds a website that sells Korean kimchi, and he just goes there, and this is in the background, right? So the contracts are in the back. Okay. So the next thing, in order for this to work, we need some roads in the middle. We need DeFi in the middle, okay? So there's several factors in here. As you can see, he's said that we need to use these four features, right? A Curve, IronBank, and SushiSwap. So the first thing is IronBank. So where does IronBank come into play here? IronBank comes in because he needs some tokens that are pegged to the currencies, right? So in this case, they need tokens that are pegged to the won, or I guess it's won, and they need tokens here that are pegged to the euro. So we need to mint these. We need to get these onto the blockchain. So he's suggesting we use IronBank to produce these tokens, okay? Now they're going to be DeFi backed, so other DeFi tokens, other ERC20 tokens and so forth, other tokens will be used to mint these. So you would lend your token, or supply your token as collateral and mint some of these euros or whatever, these kwon. Now, where does Curve come into play? Curve comes into play to help this token hold its peg. So there are other euro tokens around, and they can make a pool of other euro tokens and this euro token, and then this euro token can hold its peg through the mechanisms that Curve uses, right? And also people can swap on Curve if they want to hold this token, or they want to hold the other token, or whatever, right? Now, the Korean kwon is going to need the same features. It's going to also need to hold its peg. Now, there's no other token, so I'm not exactly sure. This is also a big question mark for me. How is this one going to hold its peg when he produces that? He's going to need other tokens in the Curve pool to hold a peg, or maybe he's going to figure out some other way, like by minting, arbitraging the minter or something, because there's also that ability, to arb this minter with actual real money and this token here. Anyhow, that's a problem for him to solve. Then we have SushiSwap, and what SushiSwap is going to do is it's going to act as the currency converter. So if you have euros and you need Kwan or whatever, then you're going to use SushiSwap. Now you have to keep in mind that it's a double swap, so SushiSwap is, tokens are pegged to Ethereum all the time because that's how DeFi works, right? Like you could make a pool of these tokens and a pool of other tokens, but that's not the most efficient way that DeFi is working. So everything is paired with Ethereum. So it's going to go swap for Ethereum and then swap Ethereum for this token here, and then send that token over to this person's wallet, basically. Now, these roads have to be built, they have to be maintained, and they need liquidity, right? So it's not I'm not talking about, paving the road. It needs liquidity. There needs to be money in here so that there's not a lot of slippage and that these features can happen. So that's where this new token comes in, this IBFF protocol, governance token for this Forex system, or this IronBank fixed Forex system. So his idea is that we will just use a governance token, a fee collecting, like protocol fee collecting token, to incentivize people to hold liquidity in these different protocols in order to make this healthy and this road to be simple and easy. Now, this stuff is complicated for the average user. So maybe Bill and the old man, he doesn't know what's going on here, and he doesn't need to know what's going on here. If we want mass adoption, then we need to have this blinded. People don't care what this is. The old man doesn't care. He just wants money for his kimchi. And Bill doesn't care about what's going on here. He just wants kimchi, and he wants to pay his euros for that kimchi. So all of this needs to be maintained by people in DeFi, investors. And, there are going to be trading fees, right? So there is that. But it's been proven that trading fees is not quite enough. Especially why would I provide liquidity to this pool, right? And just get trading fees unless the volume was huge, right? When I could provide to another pool of some other sort, some other feature, some other use case, and get some sort of token that I could, use for whatever purpose I wanted. Now, there's no talk about this being used as governance. I didn't see anything. But I assume there's going to be some governance rights with this token as well, like some sort of perhaps other tokens that they want to add later, or change some fees along the way, or something like this. So I think that's pretty much covers it. I'm going to talking about how this token works and how the vesting period and the locking period, that's a topic for another video. So I will try to maybe talk about that in another video sometime in the future. So again, now this is just my speculation. This is just what I'm understanding from reading the article. And thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.